Hello everyone, I'm back for another gameplay, and if you can see by my opening hand, or the title of the video, I am playing the three-color deck that I've been working on. This is Sidisi, Brood Tyrant. Let me pop her out there. So whenever she attacks, Sidisi, Brood Tyrant enters battlefield or attacks, I mill my top 3 cards from my library. Whenever one or more creature cards are put in my graveyard from my library, I get a 2/2 black zombie. So she's really a Sultai good stuff style commander, and she's quite a lot of fun to play. I've been enjoying her. Definitely not the best build yet. It's still relatively budget. I did have a lot of blue and black stuff from building Widwin, but I do like creature-based decks, as evidenced by my numerous Usign gameplays that have been uploaded. And this time I'm playing against Sir Alone, and I chose this gameplay because I wanted to illustrate one of the qualities of when you play a certain commander, you have to play towards a certain strategy. And I didn't feel like Sir Alone did that as well as they could have, and the game was probably affected because of it. So Sir Alone is playing Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, so OG Thalia. She is pretty darn good at being a tempo. I think she's probably one of the best mono white commanders. I know that's not saying a lot, but in 1v1, a properly built Thalia deck that's just disruption, denial, and tempo. Because she's 2 parts of the 3 all in one, she is disruption and tempo. You just build a mana destruction package. Any ways to buff her swords are very good with Thalia, even though she makes them cost more. Jite, those types of effects are fantastic in Thalia. And Sir Alone is on the play, which matters so much for a deck like this, because it means I could only have potentially 1 mana when Thalia comes into play. So I see an opening hand. I have 1 land. If this was green and I wasn't playing against Thalia, this might be a keep, but the fact that, because it's a scry land, one of the green scries, like a Temple of Mystery, the blue-green temple, I probably would have kept this. But I decided to ship it back because my curve is too high to... this hand's curve is too high to get ahead of something like Thalia. So I ship this hand back, and I believe my opponent mulligans as well. Yes, she does. And I see this. Now I have 4 green spells in hand, a scry land, and a regular land. And what I was just talking about with the scry land was that it can help me dig. But now I actually get scry 1, draw, and then scry 1 again, because I've gone to 6, so that means I'm going to get the scry 1 for my mulligan. And I have the first draw step, which actually really helps with this style of hand, where it's a loose keep. If I find any green and can deploy Llanowar Elves, this hand can start to snowball, because Llanowar Elves, 1 green source turns into Elves, which turns into Elder, which turns into everything else that I need. And Fauna Shaman there to get myself unstuck from situations, or Edric to get ahead of Thalia, because the way to beat Thalia is stabilize on board, and then just get stable on board, and draw a couple more cards than Thalia has. So this is a keep. Even though I cannot cast a single spell out of this hand, I decided that this is where I was going to make my claim. And I believe they keep 6 as well. And I see a swamp. And normally I would love to see lands when I keep something land light, but I decided to push this because I still don't have green mana, and I just have to push everything that's not green at this point. So, sorry, I jumped ahead a turn there. So I pick up Vendilion Click, scry, and I see Mana Crypt. My opponent opened turn 1 Thalia, which is even better for them. Probably one of the best openings that Mono White can ever have. I don't know why I do that in the replays. Force of habit, I guess. So I pick up the Vendilion Click, and I see Mana Crypt on top, and I decide to keep that on top because Click can at least give me a peek at how quick her tempo is going to be. So I decide that resolving Click can either fix my hand a little bit by pushing something like Fauna Shaman down to the bottom that I'm far away from being able to cast and use. Yavi Elder and Llanowar Elves get me on mana stuck, which is why they would keep, and Edric draws me cards. So Fauna Shaman would be the push if I click myself. Or I could hit Sir Alone and look at her hand and maybe rip something good out of there, like a Jite or an Armageddon, which would basically just auto-lose me the game. So my opponent goes with Strip Mine. Oh my god, what a hoser. Especially after I just put a colorless source on top of my deck. And I've already right-clicked as soon as I see strip mine, and I'm hovering over concede game. Because if she strips my temple, I don't think I get back in this. My way back is resolving Vendilion Click. And they just play Spirit of the Labyrinth and don't use their Mana Crypt, and this just seems crazy to me. They put a 3-power thing in play that stops Edric, although they don't know about Edric, but it stops my draw. It prevents me from being able to like brainstorm or ponder my way out of this. And they don't strip my mana. Thalia is a tempo deck. You want to keep me off cards, keep me off mana. Strip mine here would have been absolutely the correct play, especially because it doesn't even handicap the rest of this player's turn. She does nothing with Mana Crypt, so it effectively was a ritual to play Thalia on turn 1 at this point. It did nothing this turn. Didn't deal her damage either, but... So in for 2. Alright. And I untap, and I play Mana Crypt. I'm thinking, alright, so... If they get my temple, I'll see my draw step. If it's not a land and not a... Like, if it's a green spell, I'll probably just still concede anyway. I'm so far behind, because right now my plan is to... With Spirit of the Labyrinth in play, I can click my opponent during her draw step, and then because Spirit of the Labyrinth, I can rip one card out of the hand, and she will not draw another card, because Spirit of the Labyrinth prevents that draw. So Vendilion Click turns into Thoughtseize, when Spirit of the Labyrinth is in play, which is a pretty cool interaction that I don't think my opponent realizes when I do Resolve Click. Sorry, forecasting the game a little bit. So she doesn't strip me this turn either. She gets in for 5. And does nothing with the mana. And I cannot think why this is the case. She's got Mana Crypt in play. There's no reason to be holding up Strip Mine. I mean, I guess she's trying to keep me off green, but I have Elves that I can run out. I lose my flip. I pick up green mana, which is fantastic. So that means I can play Elves this turn. So if she was holding up Strip Mine to keep me off Forest, the fact that I have Llanowar Elves in hand means Strip Mine's suddenly dead because I have green. Now, she can strip the Forest, and I won't be able to play Elder, but at least I'll have green mana and I can deploy Sidisi, which can block Thalia. So, because she hasn't played Strip Mine on this Temple of Deceit, I'm starting to claw back into this game. So I put a stop on the draw step here. She wins her flip. Let me see if it... I don't know if it reveals the hand or not when I do it in the replay. I don't remember. So... there we go. Take a peek at the hand. There we go. Alright, so I have Swords, Path, Silver Blade, Aura of Silence, and Kytheon. So, because she did nothing last turn, I'm going to assume that her draw was Kytheon. She's had both Path and Swords, but I've not given any creatures up to this point, so it makes sense that these would be held. And I think she was debating about whether or not she wants to Swords Click or Llanowar Elves in response to me using Click. But then I can just take the other removal spell, and then she has nothing to answer Sidisi. So she decides to sandbag at least one of the removals if I take one of them. Aura of Silence, she is short white mana. I know she doesn't have white mana this turn, and I know Click's not going to get her to this. So Silver Blade and Aura of Silence cannot resolve this turn. So I'm not tempted to take either of them. I'm just trying to keep myself alive here. Kytheon, while good, I will just chump with Vendilion Click to keep it from transforming into Gideon Battleforged. So I decided to go for the Swords to Plowshares here, mostly because it's the better of the two cards. I'm going to make her have to give me a land if they want to remove one of my creatures with Path to Exile. So I rip the Swords here, and you'll notice her hand goes from 5 down to 4, because Spirit of the Labyrinth. Don't need the mana floating, and I just F6 the turn. Kytheon comes down on Q, and she still hasn't strip mined my single black source, which I just cannot fathom why it's not happening. So I think I lose another flip. Yep, down to 25. I have terrible luck with Mana Crypt, it seems. Pick up another Forest off the top, so that's fantastic. Deploy Yavimaya Elder, play the Forest. I have 2 up, or 4 up, sorry, with Mana Crypt. I deploy Fauna Shaman in the hope that she will be afraid of Fauna Shaman enough to path it on her own turn before I can activate it, which means I'll have another untapped land on my next turn, which is my real goal here. I want to bait that path, so that way when Sidisi lands, she's actually a good blocker against Thalia. She won't just get pathed out of the way. And I'm just not going to get in for damage. I'm planning to use Yavimaya Elder. Because Spirit of the Labyrinth prevents drawing more than one card a turn, I'm just setting a stop on her upkeep to use Elder by sacking the Mana Crypt, so that way I can still draw a card off it. And we do encounter a bug here, but it's actually not too bad. So I crack Elder, and I look at my lands. I decide I definitely have to get black, and I'm going to get another blue as well. Oops. Not letting me click. There we go. So I get black-blue, and my draw is not Underground River. My draw here is Cyclonic Rift, which is fantastic. So my opponent picks up their second white source. So they could play Silverblade here and try to get in for damage. The thing is, I think they're more worried about Fauna Shaman, and I was correct in that read because Sir alone, she's going to use Path on my Fauna Shaman, and I would love to get another Swamp out of my deck. So I choose Swamp because that gives me 3 black, 3 blue, and 3 green over my board. And also, I know Massacre Worm is a way that I can win this game almost immediately if I top deck it. So if I top deck Massacre Worm, play Swamp, and cast Massacre against these, I'll probably auto win the game. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I would have enough to play Edric and get him with just the click. Massacre Worm would just auto-win me the game here. So Thalia gets in, no temptation to block. This is worth more alive than dead with Edric in play, especially with this being a Cyclonic Rift. I have a plan for Spirit to not be in play. I lose another flip. I don't draw Putrefy there. I don't think it matters what I draw. So I deploy Sidisi here, and my main reason for that is I know that Sir Alone is either going to play the Aura of Silence or Silverblade Paladin coming up next. If I deploy Sidisi, there's a good chance that they'll play Silverblade Paladin, which will allow Thalia or Kytheon to trade with Sidisi. And I know they're out of removal because I took swords and they just spent their path. So I decide Sidisi is the correct play here. I think this was a land. I mill some cards. I get a zombie. I don't even know if that's the correct mill. And I ship the turn back. And I have so much mana here. Even if they spend their turn using Aura of Silence to get rid of Mana Crypt, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I played one of these lands that turn. I might have played this, because this was the land. Yeah, this was Opulent Palace. That's what it was. Because it was a tap land, that's what I played. And that's why it's not showing up. Their flip doesn't matter. And instead of deploying, they just ship the turn back, and that's fine with me. I'm not sure why. At least resolve the Aura of Silence. You can deal with my Crypt. I think I lose another flip. Alright, so the bug is going to end the game there. So I play a land here, and I decide not to attack with Sidisi. My opponent untaps, use Plains, Strip Mine, again. They play a Rogue's Passage. They Plains, Rogue's Passage, play Silverblade Paladin, but now they're out of white mana. So they pair with Thalia. I Psych Rift in the combat step when Thalia tries to come in, because I decide I just don't want to. They have no white mana, so all they're going to be able to do is redeploy Crypt. They can strip me, but it doesn't matter at that point. And Psych Rift costs 8 because of Thalia, but I had more than enough. Remember, I had Opulent Palace here, and then I played one of these lands. Should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I had exactly enough, even if somehow I didn't have Mana Crypt. So I bounced their field when they were out of white, and they shipped the turn back. I resolve Edric, and they concede to Edric at that point. And it's probably correct to do so. And the reason I waited on the Cyclonic Rift was Sidisi was almost guaranteed with the way this deck is built to be 2 attackers, and I wanted to ensure that I would get quite a few cards off Edric, not just like one off click, before Spirit comes back down to play. I don't have removal for it, but if I can play Edric as a single instance draw 4, like he's about to be, I'll probably win off that draw 4, even if I have lands in hand. Because Sidisi's milling me cards, and I'm just getting too far ahead in value. So I'm going to pull up the deck list. Let's see. Shrink that. Collection. So this is the deck list currently. Going on 15 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it brief. So, Mana Crypt. These are the 1-drops. Mostly Mana Dork. Crop Rotation, I've been iffy about. Good in some situations. I think it's going to be the first card I cut from this list. I'm still tweaking it. Psych Rift was added in. Standstill is just good value. Image, Hand Disruption, Removal, Tutor. Hermit Druid actually is quite good because Hermit Druid reveals cards inside your library until you reveal a basic land card. Put that card into your hand, and all other cards reveal this way into your graveyard. The way that Hermit Druid interacts with Sidisi is... Let me move the crop rotation back over. So let's say Hermit Druid activates, reveals 4 cards, 3 of which are creatures, and then the 1 land. So that land goes into my hand, and then those 3 creatures are put from my library into my graveyard. Each of those actually triggers Sidisi separately. I've realized this after I mind-controlled an opponent's Hermit Druid at one point. I was playing against a Carador deck, and I used Sower of Temptation, took Hermit Druid, and then activated it, and I got 6 zombies out of Sidisi for it. Because all other cards revealed this way into your graveyard, it's actually I guess Moto sees it as separate instances of Sidisi being put into the graveyard. I don't know if it's a bug, but as long as it's working, I'm going to continue to use Hermit Druid because the ability to pay 1 green tap, get a land, and create an instant army at the end of an opponent's turn is very good. So that's why Hermit Druid's made the cut, despite the fact that most of the time, EFGH, most of the time Hermit Druid is a combo piece in a lot of decks, in 5-color decks. So the deck's pretty straightforward. It's really creature-heavy control. I mean, I have the good ones: Survival, Fauna, Sylvan. The stuff that I added was things like Fleshbag, Deluge, Victimize, which I've been very impressed with. Reanimate, Vamp, which is ridiculously underpriced on Modo right now. It's fantastic. I saw it. I still don't have Demonic Tutor, as you notice. Dread Return is probably actually one of the best reanimation spells because I've milled it with Sidisi more times than I can count, and it's just always good. Deranged Hermit's pretty fantastic because I can Green Sun Zenith for essentially 5 creatures. Acidic Slimes, Sadistic Hypnotist is one of my other win conditions that almost always draws a concession when it resolves. Rune's Guard at the top end, I've been back and forth. I think I might cut that as well, just because it's not performing as much as I would like. So this is the deck. Let me scroll down for the lands. All the Pain lands. I have all of the temples. I'm playing 3 of each of the non-greens, and then 6 green basics. I have the check lands, some scars from Innistrad block and core sets. Then I only have the 1 fast land so far, the Dark Slick Shores Command Tower. I have the Reveal land. I have all of the Gain Life 1 land, or the Cons block Gain lands. And the Shock lands are essentially mana base. I mean, this is essentially a swamp with Herborg. But I found that this is the best way to set up the mana base on the budget that I'm at so far. So we'll see. You'll see I have Opulent Palace, that's a bad command tower, or Strip Mine. Opulent Palace is almost always the seems to be the crop rotation target. I actually cut Bajuka Bog, it just wasn't doing enough. And I didn't like, I've gotten Vesuva on my Bajuka Bog twice when I was running it, and when it's Bajuka Bog's one of those cards when it's good, it's really good, but every other time it's really bad. So I decided to cut it ultimately, and I think these are going to be my next 2 edits if I find something else I like in the slots. So that's the game, and this is the deck so far. Feel free to take a look, take a screenshot, whatever you want. The cool interaction I saw from Brian Weissman. No, not Brian Weissman. one of my other subs. I'll link him in the description. Mystical Tutor into Green Sun Zenith gets me Deranged Tournament, so I can Mystical Tutor for a Deranged Tournament or Acidic Slime, and that's why I picked that up as well, which was also a very low price because of Eternal Masters. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the game, and I will see you all in the next one.